Hello everyone, welcome back to our IGCSE Add Maths past paper walkthrough. Today we'll be doing paper 2 and we'll be covering the same steps as we did for paper 1. You need to know that the paper 2 here is a calculator paper and you are allowed to use a calculator, scientific calculator in your paper. So let's just get started straight away. And it's for 2 hours again. It's the same number of hours for as the paper 1. And here you can use the calculator and it's for a total worth of 80 marks. So let's just get started straight away. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. So let's just go 1 second. I'll just check it once. Okay, now we can just move on. But so as you know, there will be the list of formulas again. So you have got the list of formulas, general list of formulas, uh, same as paper 1. So let's go with the first question. Here, the diagram shows a circle with a center O and a radius 5 centimeters. The point A lies on the circle. The point B is such that the line AB is the tangent to the circle, and OB has a length of 13 centimeters. So from this information given, what you can conclude of AOB? The triangle AOB is going to be a right angle triangle, right? So the right angle should be here. So the property we use to find the right angle is that I'll just write the reason. Since AB is tangent to the circle, what happens is the tangent is always perpendicular. So the property is that the tangent is perpendicular to the radius. So that's the property. And from this we found that therefore triangle AOB is a right angle triangle. Is a right angled triangle. So from this, you know you have given the information that OB is 13. So this is 13 centimeters. And they're asking you to find the angle AOB in radians. So the AOB is basically this angle you need to find, theta. And you know that OA is going to be 5 because that's your radius. So from this you can find AB. So let me just shrink this property over here, the explanation I've given. So from this property, so give it in black. Yeah. So now we have all the information jotted down. And now what we do here is find AB first. So AB is going to be the root of 13 squared, the hypotenuse, minus the 5 squared. I got this from the A square plus B square, the Pythagoras theorem, and we wrote it like this. So this should give you 12 centimeters. So now you know that AB is going to be 12 centimeters, OA is 5, and OB is 13. Now you need to just find this angle theta in radians. So you can just use any of the trigonometric ratios since it's a right angle triangle. You can use the trigonometric ratio of any of the trigonometric ratios. So I think you don't need to solve for the AB. So basically, you have already given two of the sides and you need to find the angle. So just for information, I've given you the AB. And now what we do is let's go with cos theta. The cos theta is basically 5, which is adjacent, over 13. So now the theta would be cos inverse of 5 over 13. So that should give you, here you can use the calculator as permitted. So I'm using the calculator now. So this should give you about 67.4 degrees. And now when you convert this to radians, you just do times pi by 180, which will give you 1.18 radians to 3SF. So radians to three significant figures. Three significant figures. Let's move on to part B. Part B is asking for you to find the perimeter of the shaded region. So the shaded region is basically, one second. Sorry for this disturbance. So let's just continue. So find the perimeter of the shaded region. So the shaded region is basically this part. So this is your arc, and this is going to be your straight lines. So basically, this perimeter should be the length of these two lines plus the length of the arc. So you already know that this theta is 1.18 radians. So now basically for perimeter of shaded region, you just add 12. 12 is your AB. So this is basically the 12. And this portion is going to be 6. So this is going to be 6. How did I get that 6? It's big. No, sorry, it's going to be 8. 8. It should be 8. And how did I get this 8? It's just the whole OB minus the radius, which is 13 minus 5, which is going to give you 8. So then you add this 8 plus with the arc length. So the arc length is basically, you use the formula of the arc length when you're given in radians. So that should be theta r. So that's going to be 1.18 times 5. So when you add it up, 12 plus 8 plus 1.18 times 5. Okay, times 5. So that should give you about 25.9 cm to 3SF. So the property we use to find the arc length, the formula is basically the perimeter of an arc is going to be theta times r, the angle in radians times the radius. So hope you understood that formula and recalled it from your revisions. And now they're asking you to find the area of the shaded region. Now area of the shaded, how are we going to go about that? It's basically the whole area of triangle AOB. So it's going to be the whole area of triangle AOB minus this area of the arc. Area of the arc. So that's your area of the shaded region. So the area of triangle AOB can be given as half times 5 times 12, and area of the arc is basically is going to be half times. So let me just verify that. Okay, sorry. So area of the arc is basically 1 by the half times r squared times theta. So that's your formula, and when you substitute the r squared and theta, you will get 1.18 times 25. So now when you do the calculation of this, you will get 6 times 5, which is going to be 30, minus this half times 1.18 times 25, which is going to give you about 15.3 cm squared to 3SF. So hope you understood that. So basically we are using the formula to find the area of the arc to be area equals to half theta r squared. So that's your formula for the area. I hope you understood the part C. And let's move on to the second question. The second question here, find the x coordinates of the stationary points of the curve this. So x coordinates of the stationary points. So we have given the given y is what is y. So basically what we can do first is we can first expand it to get a simpler form of the y. So it's given in factorized form. So let's just expand it, x plus 2 squared. So first what we do is half times 3 minus 2x. This is going to be x squared plus 4x plus 4. So this is basically x plus a squared will give you x squared plus 2ax plus a squared. So uh, that's your formula there. So you're going to use this formula, and that's what we expanded here. And then now you just multiply each of the terms with the rainbow method for these two terms. For these two terms, you use the rainbow method to expand it. So that gives you 3x squared plus 12x plus 12 minus 2x cubed minus 8x squared minus 8x. So from there, you just rearrange everything. You start with negative 2x cubed. 3 minus 8 would give you negative 5x squared. 12 minus 8 will give you 4x and plus 12. Now you do expand the half. You will get negative x cubed, negative 5 by 2x squared plus 2x plus 6. So now what we do is find the x coordinates of the stationary points. So the fact you need to remember here is that for any stationary point, the dy over dx is always 0. So now this you use this fact. So basically you differentiate the equation first. So that would give you negative 3x squared. So bring down the 3, reduce the power by 1. Again you bring down the 2, that should give you negative 5x plus 2. So now you need to set this dy over dx to be 0, and that should give you negative 3x squared negative 5x plus 2 equals to 0. And then basically you can use the calculators to solve this. So let me rearrange this because it's we can write this also as 3x squared plus 5x minus 2. We can take negative 1 outside, and then when you divide both sides by negative 1, it's still 0 over on the right hand side. So we can do this too. So now what we do to this is we just punch it in the calculator, and then you just write the factorized form negative 3x minus 1, and you'll get x plus 2 equals to 0. So therefore the x coordinates would be 1 by 3 and x equals to -2. So those are your x coordinates over here. So hope you understood the method we used. So you just need to know this fact to solve this question very easily. So let's move on to part B. Sketch the graph stating the intercepts with the coordinate axis. So from this, you might have known that this is going to be a cubic graph. This is a cubic graph. From the expanded form, we know that the cubic graph has a -1 for the x cubed. So that's your that determines the shape of the graph. And for a negative cubic graph, it should look like something like this. So this should be the positive and the reverse should be the negative. So something will be like this. So now when you draw this graph, you need to just know the x-intercepts and the y-intercepts, which you can find directly from this. So the x-intercept should be 3 by 2. So that's one of the x-intercept, and -2 is another x-intercept. So you know that this -2 is a turning point 2. So when you draw the curve, it should meet but not go below the turning point. And then it should just turn over here and then goes like this. So something like this, and you just label the intercepts. So this should be -2, this should be 3 over 2, and the y-intercept should be the 6 over here. So this 6 determines the constant determines the y-intercept, which is going to be 6. So that's your graph for, and the 3 marks is the given for the shape of the graph gives 1 mark, the x-intercept gives 1 mark, and the y-intercept gives 1 mark. So you get the 3 marks from that. Now let's move on to part C. Find the values of k for which the equation half times 3 minus 2x times x plus 2 squared equals to k has 3 real and distinct roots. So basically what they're asking is to find 3 real and distinct roots for this equation. So let's just do that. And how do we find the 3 real, and how do you know that it has 3 real and distinct roots? So for that, we just need to write it in this form. So this is the form we need to write it in. I think so. That should be the right one, I think. So one second, I'll just verify if we are going to use that or any other form. Okay, actually you don't need to use that form. You can use the graph directly. So from the graph, you can see that at the x-axis. So the observation from the graph is that at x-axis or below x-axis, there are only 2 roots, 2 real and distinct roots. So that's the first observation from the graph. The second observation from the graph is from this maximum point. So let's say this is the maximum point. Beyond this maximum point, or at the maximum point or beyond that, there is going to be only one or two solutions. So the same applies here. So there are only one. So there should be also, I need to also write it as one or two. Same at maximum point or beyond that. Beyond it, there are only one or two real and distinct truths. So that's your observation 2. So basically what you need to show that is that all the values of k between the maximum point and the x-axis will have three real and distinct truths. So for that, first you need to find the the coordinate of the maximum point. And how do we do that? Is basically you take whatever we did here. So at this maximum point, it's going to be the turning point 2. So at x is equal to 1 by 3, you need to find the y coordinate. So you know that at maximum point, x is equal to 1 by 3. So therefore, y will be equal to, you just substitute it into the substitute into this equation. So the y is going to be equal to k, which is in turn equals to half times 3 minus 2 times 1 over 3 times 1 over 3 plus 2 squared. So that's going to be your k, the maximum value of k. And now we just find it using the calculator. So I just do it 2 times 1 by 3 and then times 1 by 3 plus 2 squared. So that's going to give you 343 over 54. So that's your y coordinate of the maximum point. So therefore, the range of k values will be between 0 and this the y value of this maximum point. So that's going to be our answer. So this is your answer. Hope you understood this. This is only for 2 questions, 2 marks, sorry. So basically these two are, you need to just observe it from the graph and find the y value of the maximum point and then write it in the inequality form. Now let's move on to question 3. So solve this equation giving your answer correct to 2 decimal places. So this is pretty simple. So 6x 3 by 5 plus 1 equals to 12 over x 3 by 5. So you can consider this x 3 by 5 to be y. So we can use the substitution. And then we write this as 6y plus 1 equals to 12 over y. And this becomes 6y squared plus y. So when you bring the y to the other side, you multiply the y with both the terms. And then this is going to be 12. So 6y squared plus y minus 12 is equal to 0. Now you just find the values of y. So that should give you 3y plus 4, sorry, minus 4, and 2y plus 3 equals to 0. So now y is equal to 4 over 3 or y is equal to negative 3 over 2. So hope you got that. We use substituting here. So the idea over here is substitute with a different value. Substitute x3 over 5 to be y. So now you can just bring the x3 over 5 again, which is going to be 4 over 3, or x3 over 5 equals to negative 3 over 2. So now x is going to be, when you move the 3 over 5 to the other side, it will be 4 over 3 to the 5 over 3. 4 over 3 to the power of 5 over 3, or x is going to be negative 3 over 2 to the 5 over 3. So now when you write it in two decimal places, it's going to give you the answer to be 1.2 decimal places, right? Yeah, 1.62, or x is equal to negative 1.5 to the 5 over 3, negative 1.97. So those are the two values of x, and we solved it. So I hope you understood how we substituted and why do we substitute. Because we have similar terms in both the sides. So that's why it's easier to make it into a quadratic form, then substitute back and then find the x values. Let's move on to the fourth question. A team of 10 players is to be chosen from 15 players. Find the number of teams that can be chosen if there is no restrictions. So this question is on the topic of, you need to recognize the topic as permutation combinations. So first is recognizing the topic and combination. Anything that involves selections or grouping or finding the number of events occurring, you use permutations and combinations. So what do you think which we will be using in this question? They have told you that it's going to be a choosing. You need to choose 10 players from the 15 players. And it can be random. So there is no order you need to follow. So no order. This means that you don't need to follow any order, or you don't need to follow any protocol to choose the players. So now then you can just move on and tell that we will be using combinations here. So this implies that we'll be using combinations. So without any restrictions, this is going to be 15 choose the 10. So when you type that 15 choose 10 on your calculator, you will get 3003. So that's your answer for the first question. 1 mark call. Now let's move on. The 15 players includes 3 sisters who must not be separated. Find the number of teams that can be chosen now. So what they told here is the 3 sisters cannot be separated. What that implies? This can imply that 3 sisters in the team, so they are taken in the team, or they are excluded. They are all excluded. Not only one, they should all be excluded from the team because they cannot be separated, as they told you. So we have two cases over here. So first, for the first case, it's going to give you, for the first case, if you include the 3 sisters, you already chose those 3 sisters, and the remaining players you need to choose is 7 players from 12 players. So that should give you 12 choose 7. So that's basically the first one. So how we got this 12? So basically we reduced the 3 sisters from the 15. So you got 12 more players you can choose from. And you reduce the 10 players from 3 because you already chose 3 players for the team. So the 7 players are yet to choose. So that's how we got 12 choose 7. So now what we do here is we need to add, because we know that it's a second case, and you already know that when you write or, or means to add and means to multiply. So now you add the second case, they all being excluded, then that means that you have from the 15 players, you only have 12 players to choose, and you need to choose 10 players from the 12. So that's basically 12 choose 10. So now what's the answer for this? That's going to be your answer for the question. So this should give you 858. 858. So that's your answer. So hope you understood how we did that, because you need to know that there are two cases you need to consider, that all the sisters are in the team or all the sisters are excluded from the team. So that is what it implies by it, they should not be separated. Let's move on to part B. This is a different question from the previous one. A 6-digit number is to be formed from these 9 digits, or 10 digits I should say, from 0 to 9. The 6-digit number cannot start with 0, and all the 6 digits must be different. Find how many 6-digit numbers can be formed if the 6-digit number is even. Okay, so now you need to find a 6-digit number. To generate a number, the positions matter very importantly. So basically they are telling that you use permutations here, because permutations is when you use the order of the digits. So here the order matters. So you need to know that the order matters. So that's why we are going to use permutation. So let me just write 6 blanks to represent the 6 numbers, because we have a lot of conditions also. So you know that they told that the 6-digit number should not start with a 0, and that's self-explanatory why. So that means you can only choose from 1 to 9 over here. So that gives you 9 possibilities for that. And for the rest of the numbers, they should all be different. So if you choose one of the numbers here and others should be all different, that means it's going to be something, you take the 1 out of the 10, because you already chose 1 for the first place over here, and then there's 9 more digits you can choose from. And they told that this 6-digit number should be even. So that means the last digit should be either 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. So there are a lot of cases over here you need to consider. The first case is basically this, the number will start with the odd digits basically. So that is 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So if the number starts with these odd digits, then the case is going to be, so you have 5 possibilities on the first digit over here, and for the last digit also you have 5 possibilities. So then 5 times 5, you have excluded 2 of the digits, so you are left with 8 digits, and from that 8 you need to choose 4. So 8p4. So that's going to be your first case. So let me just write that. This is case 1. So 25 times 8p4 should give you 42,000. So now case 2. Let me just move that a little bit. Yeah. So the case 2 is when the number starts with the digits 2, 4, 6, 8. At this point, you know that there are 4 possibilities for the first place. For this, it's going to be 4 possibilities. Since you have chosen one of the even digit already over there, you have only four other even digits you can choose for the last place. So that should give you uh, four more possibilities over here. And then as usual, since you chose already two of the digits, for the rest four digits you need to choose from the eight other digits. So that should give you 16 times 8p4. That's going to be 26,880. So now you have found both of the cases. Now basically what you need to do for the whole total number of total numbers you can be that can be found from this total 6-digit numbers, it's going to be basically 42,000 plus 26,880. So that should give you 26,880, 68,880, 880. So that's your answer for this question. Here also you have a lot of conditions. So with the conditions, you just be aware that you need to you need to apply all the conditions to your answer so that you can find the exact number of exact answer accurately. So let's move on to question 5. When e to the power y is plotted against x squared, a straight line graph with gradient -3 is obtained. The line passes through the point. We have the coordinates of the point. Find y in terms of x. So for this question, you need to recognize that this is from the linear law. So the topic of this question being asked is from linear law. So basically, what they're telling is you have an axis. I'll just draw it for your convenience. You have an axis. Your x-axis is actually x squared. So from here you know that against means whatever comes after the against is going to be your x-axis and whatever comes before is your y-axis. So x squared is your x-axis, e to the power y is your y-axis. Instead of y you are going to use these two units for this question. And now what we do is I'm just roughly drawing it here. So since they told it's a -3, gradient is -3, it should be a decreasing function. So let's just consider this is your graph. Now you need to find the equation of the graph from y in terms of x. So basically for this straight line, you need to, for any straight line, so let me give capital Y equals to mx plus b. So now you need to know the m, which is the gradient, and b is the y-intercept. So how do you already know that the m is going to be -3. So basically what you do is you substitute the coordinates given for the point which is passing through the line into the equation to find b. So this y, whole y is going to be 5.85 equals to -3. This capital X is going to be 4.30 plus b. So now what we do is basically 5.85 is equal to -3 times 4.3. That is going to be -12.9 plus b. So the b value is going to be 5.85 plus 12.9. That's going to give you 18.75. So now just substitute all the values into the formula. So this is going to be -3 capital X plus 18.75. So are we done at that? Yeah, that's the no. So what's the trick here is the capital Y is actually not the y-axis. You need to substitute these two. So this is your y-axis and this is your x-axis, not the capital Y or the capital X. So basically you need to substitute these two y and x for the capital Y and capital X. So e to the power y is going to be negative 3x squared plus 18.75. Now you need to write this in terms of y in terms of x. So basically you get y itself, and when you move the e to the other side, it's going to be natural log. So that's going to give you ln negative 3x squared plus 18.75. So that's your final answer. So this is your final answer. Just remember to not leave at this. So this is wrong. When you leave it at this part, it's going to be a wrong. And you just need to know that you need to substitute the e to the power y and x squared or the axis labeled into the equation to find the exact answer. So now let's move on to part B. Find the values of x for which y exists. So the values of x for y exist. You should know that for ln, some whatever the constant is, this should not be the from this you need to know that b should not be less than 0. So because ln 0 is from ln 0 and below, there's no value for that function. So basically this b should not be less than 0. So basically your b over here is going to be negative 3x squared plus 18.75, which is should not be less than 0. Then uh, this should be greater than 0. So since it's not less than 0, you need to write it in greater than 0 and then just solve this inequality. So basically what you do, negative 3x squared is greater than negative 18.75. X squared is less than. Remember this part, this change between the inequality sign, because when you're dividing or multiplying any inequality by a negative number, you need to change the sign. So you need to alter the sign. So that should give you 18.75 divided by 3. That's going to be 6.25. So the x should be less than 5 by 2. 5 by 2. I didn't write the right less than plus minus 5 by 2 because if you have minus, then okay, I think you can write it because you're squaring the minus itself, so it doesn't matter. So that's going to be a final answer. So now what you need to just know that it's going to lie between these plus and minus 5 by 2. So you need to write this in the form of the inequality, which is going to be between negative 5 by 2 and x is 5 by 2. So basically we just written it in this form, but this is actually not the right one. So just leave this. So this is not the right form you need to write in. So basically from this, what we did is we just drew the x squared, and since it's going to be less than this number, it should lie between the critical values. So that's going to be negative 5 by 2, 5 by 2, and since it's a bit below this, so this is your shaded region, and you need to write the inequality in the form of between x is between negative 5 by 2 and 5 by 2. So hope you understood that. So just a mistake over here, you should not write it in x is less than plus minus 5 by 2. So this is your final answer over here. Okay, let's move on to question number 6. It is given that y is this. Find dy over dx. You can see that y is given in a division. So this is basically in a fractional form, or you can call it you're dividing some term with another term. So then what should strike in your mind is that quotient rule. You need to know the quotient rule over here. So I'll just write the quotient rule for your understanding. So the quotient rule states that you differentiate the denominator, leave the numerator, minus, so dy over dx of for the quotient. So basically, if you can think of this as y is equal to u over v, u is your ln 2x square plus 1 and x plus 2 is your v. You need to first differentiate, sorry, you should first differentiate the numerator. Sorry. So you first differentiate the numerator and leave the denominator. Then you leave the numerator and differentiate the denominator over v squared. So that's your formula. So now you just apply this formula to dy over dx. So first you leave the denominator x plus 2, and then this ln 2x plus 2 will give you uh, so basically it should give you 1 over 2x square plus 1. And don't forget to use the chain rule. So since this is also implying the chain rule, you need to differentiate the inside function, and that's going to be just 2x, sorry. So no, 4x, sorry. 4x, because you need to bring down the 2, reduce the power by 1, which is going to be 4x. So that's your first part of the differentiation, and then you need to minus this whole thing by leaving the ln 2x plus 2x square plus 1 as it is and differentiating the denominator. When you differentiate the denominator, you're getting 1. So you can just write it as ln 2x squared plus 1 whole. And you divide it by x plus 2 squared. X plus 2 squared. So that's it. You can just leave it at that. You can just leave it as it is like this. And now we'll just move on. Just give me a minute. I'll be back. Sorry for the disturbance. Okay, I'm back. Hope you can hear me. So let's move on to part B. Given that x is increasing from 2 to 2 plus h, the h is small, find the approximate change in y. So this shows you need to use the approximate change. So they already gave you that is going to be the approximate change. So the formula for this is basically uh, small change in y over small change in x is approximately dy over dx. So now they told from 2 to 2 plus h. So that means first you need to find the dy over dx for 2. Dy over dx for x is equal to 2. So basically you substitute 2 into the equation. You do not need to write, I think. It's not necessary. You just substitute it. So that should give you 4 times 1 over 2 times 2 squared would be 4 times 2, which is 8, plus 1, which is 1 over 9, times 4 times 2 will give you 8. So then minus ln 2 times uh, 4, which is 8 again, ln 8 plus 1, which is giving you 9, and then x plus 2 squared would be 4 squared, which is 16. So approximately you're getting 0. You're getting approximately 0.0849 to 3 significant figures. So now you just apply the formula. The small change in y over small change in x is approximately dy over dx. So you need to find the small change in y. So the small change in y is going to be this. So you know that the small change in x is basically h, because they have just increased the 2 by h. So the small change in x is going to be h, and then this is going to be 0.0849. And now the small change in y, which is they are asking the approximate change in y, is approximately 0.0849 h. So just bring the h to the other side and it will get multiplied. And that's going to be your final answer. So hope you understood part B. You just need a little more practice if you're not getting this approximate change concept. Do check out our differentiation lesson which we did previously. If you're still struggling to understand this concept of approximate change and how do we apply it to questions. So now let's move on to part C. Okay, so part C is basic. They are showing that given that y is decreasing by 0.4 units per second, find the corresponding rate of change in x when x is equal to 2. So this is with respect to time. So there's a change in time. So this is basically the rate of change concept which we need to use as it's mentioned here. So they have given you the information as the change in y over change in time is going to be 0.4. You need to find the corresponding change in y when it is x is equal to 2. So you already know that dy over dx for x is equal to 2 is going to be 0.0849. So basically use the change rule again. That's the change rule which we talked about. So I'll just write the formula dA over dC. So a small is can be equal to dA over dB times dB over dC. So this is the formula. So you can basically give it in an you can just give it in a ratio, and since dB and dB gets cancelled, you will get the same answer. So you need to use that to find dy over dx over dt. So you don't know dx over dt, but you know these two information, that dy over dt is 0.4 and dy over dx is 0.0849 for x is equal to 2. So dx over dt is going to be you can write it as dx over dy times dy over dt. So this is the expanded form. And you don't have dx over dy, but you know dy over dx. So that's basically the reciprocal. So 1 over 0.0849 times 0.4. So now you know that now you know that this is going to be, sorry, say you need to also remember that they told it is going to decrease, right? That means it's going to be a minus over here. I forgot about the minus there. So since they told it the change in y is decreasing, the y is decreasing. That means the change in y is going down. So you need to write the negative also. Don't forget the negative. I'll just give it the negative as in red so it's easier to see. And very, okay, so that's the case. And then this should give you negative 4.71 to three significant figures. So we understood part C and the concept of rate of change and this decreasing, increasing. So whenever it's decreasing, you use the negative. If it's increasing, you don't need to put the negative. It's going to be a positive value. Let's go to question number 7. It's given that fx is equal to 2 to the e 2e to the x plus a. 1 second. Okay. For x is greater than or equal to 0, where a is an integer and gx is this, the square root of x minus 1 for x is greater than 1. Find the least value of a so that the function gf exists for all x is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so this question is basically they are telling that for x is greater than or equal to 0, gf should exist. So gf, which means you need to use f or into g and then it should exist for x is greater than or equal to 0. So then the least value of a. So the least value of a is basically when you have two domains over here. So which one to take? Because they are telling the exterior function is g and the interior is f, you need to consider, so you need to now take the domain of g, the domain of g to in with respect to fx, domain of gx. So basically the domain of gx is starting from x is equal to 1. So you can just write 2 plus a, or when x is equal to 0 for fx, when x is equal to 0 for fx, the gx should be greater than or equal to 1. So gx should be equal to 1. So basically that gives you 2e to the 0 plus a equals to 1. So the least value of a should be negative 1. So hope you understood this, because we need to know which one you are taking as the domain. You need to take the domain to gx because the gx is the dominant one because it's on the outer than the fx. So the fx you use it for the function of fx, but when you take the domain of gx, you get the more relevant answer for the a. So that's your least value of a. And now let's move on. In the case where a is equal to 5, solve the equation this. Give your answer in 3 decimal places. So this is pretty straightforward. You need to just find gfx. So that's going to be g 2e to the x minus 1. So now basically you just write it in the square root form. 2e to the x minus 1 gives you minus 2. And this is going to be equal to 3. So 2e to the x minus 2 is going to be 9. How do I get that 9? 3 squared, which is 9. Let me give it again. So 3 squared is going to be 9. When you move the square root to the other side, it's going to be 9. And now, okay, sorry, it should not be negative 1. They already gave you that a is going to be 5. A is equal to 5. So now you just write plus 5. And plus 5 minus 1 over here is going to be plus 4. So now this 2e to the x plus 4 is going to equal to 9. E to the x, you can find it by 9 minus 4 over 2, which is 5 over 2. E to the x is equal to 5 over 2. So Lx is basically ln 5 over 2. So ln 5 over 2 will give you 0.916 to 3 SF, and that's your answer. So basically, this should not be 1 because they told that the A is equal to 5. So you need to consider that you need to substitute that A to be 5. So hope you understood part B. Now let's move on to question number 8. How many questions are there? Okay, 11. So there are 11 questions. Okay, let's move on fast. So show that this expression can be written as sine cubed x, the sine cube theta. Okay, so now you need to make everything to sine. Sine theta tan squared theta over. So basically, you can take the LHS. You can write whenever you're proving for anything, you need to first make the LHS to be the RHS, then write it is equal. So 1 plus tan squared theta. Now you have this. Now what we can do is make everything to sine. You know that tan squared theta. So we can just use the formula sheet over here. Okay, so tan squared theta is basically secant to my squared minus 1. But I think you don't need that to apply it here. So you can just write this as sine squared theta over cos squared theta. And so just multiply this by sine squared theta over cos squared theta over 1 plus tan squared theta. We saw that to be secant squared theta. So you need to know that 1 plus tan squared theta is equal to secant squared theta. So these are the two identities we used. And now this, when you multiply, it's going to be sine cubed theta over cos squared theta. This division, and for now I'm going to write this division to be in the with the division symbol. And secant squared theta is basically 1 over cos squared theta. Now when you do the normal division, cos squared theta times cos squared theta. You can cancel out the cos squared and cos squared. Cos squared and cos squared goes. So you are left with sine cubed theta, which is basically equal to RHS. So I have shown that it's the LHS is equal to RHS. Hope you understood the identities we used and how to apply them in the question. Moving on to part B. So here they are basically telling to hence solve this equation. So instead of theta, they use 3x. The others stay the same. So you can just write sine cubed 3x equals to 1 over 8. Sine 3x is going to be 1 over 2. Because we cube root the 1 over 8, you get 1 over 2. And the basic angle. So basically this alpha means the basic angle. Why we find only the basic angle before we find the exact angles is because of this condition. The domain for x should be between negative 180 and 180. So this basic angle is very important to be found. So the basic angle for sine theta should be 30 degrees. So when you do sine inverse of half, you get 30 degrees. So that's your basic angle. And for the domain, we know that they have given the domain to be between negative 180 and 180 inclusive. So for 3x, it's going to be between 540 and negative 540. 180 times. Yeah. So that's your, this is your actual domain for 3x. So now you just need to find all the possible values. So 3x could be, and you need to know that this since this is a positive value, this is in the first and the second quadrant. For sine in the 4-quadrant rule, sine is positive in the first and second quadrant. So A, S, T, C. All the angles in the first quadrant and sine is in the second quadrant. So now negative 80 will 540 will give you 3x to be negative 330. So one of the angles for that is negative 330. How I got that? You need to negative 300 minus the 30, the basic angle. And the second one is going to be negative 210. Third one is going to be 30 degrees. Then we will have, so 30 degrees is basically from this first angle, and then negative 270 plus the 30. Then you will get negative 210. Next, sorry, negative 180 minus 30, then you get negative 210. Then we will have 150, which is in the second quadrant. 180 minus 30 will give you 150. And then you will have then you will get 390. So 360 plus you. There are two cycles. So basically, since 540 is more than 360, you can go for a second cycle to the for the same. And then the last one, the last value will be 510. So hopefully we found all the 6 values. How to be the one of the key rules or intuition you can get from how many values you need to find is from the number of marks. So at least they have given 5 marks means at least there should be 5 values or more. Or there can be 4 values too. So between 4 to 6 you need to find those number of values. And that is how you can check for if you are finding the exact number of values. But the values should be exact, like the answers should be exact, but you can just give it as a guess. Just if you're not sure if this is going to be one of the values, you can just give it as a guess for the examiner to verify that. So then x is going to be negative 110. You just divide everything by 3, negative 70, 10 degrees, 50 degrees, 70 degrees, no, sorry, 130 degrees. Is going to be 130 degrees and 170 degrees. So those are the 6 values of x. Hopefully solve this equation part B, and let's move on to 9. So the 3 more to go. All in this question, all lengths are in meters and time is in seconds. A particle moves in a straight line such that 3 seconds after passing fixed point O, the displacement is given by this. Find the value of t when p is instantaneously at rest. At rest, so the fact here is the fact. You need to remember for instantaneous rest is at instantaneous rest. Instantaneous rest, the velocity is always 0. So you know the equation of the displacement. To find the velocity, you just do the differentiation. So the v is basically ds over dt. So that should give you 5 times 2t plus 1. Sorry, 2 over 2t plus 1. 2 over. So how I got that is first you need to just write 1 over 2t plus 1 And don't forget to differentiate the inside function of ln. That's going to give you 2. So I just wrote this 2 on top of on the numerator. 2 times 1 is going to be 2. And then minus 5. Sorry. This minus 5 is a separate term. That's your v. Now you need to set this v to be 0, and 10 over 2t plus 1 minus 5 is equal to 0. 10 over 2t plus 1 is equal to 5. 2t plus 1 is equal to 2. 10 over 5 will give you 2, and then this should be half. So then therefore the value of t at v is equal to 0 is going to be half. So part B, find the distance it travels between t equals to 0 to and t equals to 2. So here basically they're asking the distance, and how do you find this distance is basically you just substitute these t equals to 0 and t equals to 2 into the uh, displacement to find the absolute value. So basically the distance is going to be the absolute value of the s. Let's give d to be the distance. So that's basically that. So at t equals to 0, absolute value of s is just, you just put it into the equation and you get, sorry, so 2 times, so you just get 0 because at first it starts from 0. So the initial position is at 0. So at t equals 0 is that. So then at t equals to 2, the absolute value of s is just, you need to substitute 2 into the function f5 ln 2 times 2 plus 1 minus 5 times 2. So now what you get from here is 5 ln 5 minus 10. So that's going to be approximately negative 1.9528. So you can just leave it at this. And you know that at t is equal to half, there is a rest. So at this rest, you can assume that it's going to change the direction. So when you change the direction to the opposite direction, that is, this point will be t is equal to half. So I understood that because at t is equal to half, there is a change in direction. Sorry. So that's why you need to calculate the first distance from 0 to half, then half to 2. So we found the distance, the total distance from 0 to 2, but that is not the actual distance because you need to subtract the change in direction of also. So that's going to be at t equals to half, you will get the s absolute value of s to be 5 ln 2 minus 5 by 2, and that should give you 0.9657. So now what you do is, so now you know from 0 to half is this distance, and the absolute value over here will be 1.9528 for 0 at t is equal to 2. So since it's going towards 2, you need to multiply the distance from t is equal to half by 2. So therefore, the distance is equal to 2 times of this 0.9657 plus that 1.9528. So approximately this should give you 3.88 meters. 23 is. So that's your answer over here. So just understand that whenever there is a instantaneous rest, the particle might change. So here it is a particle. So the particle can change direction, and you need to consider the change in direction too when you're calculating the distance. Now, part C, find an expression for the acceleration of p. So basically, you know that the velocity equation is 10 over 2t plus 1 minus 5. 10 over 2t plus 1 minus 5. So basically, the acceleration is dv over dt. So that for that you just need to do. So basically, you can write this as 10 times 2t plus 1 to the negative 1 minus 5. So now you bring down the negative 1, you get negative 10, and then 2t plus 1 you need to you need to reduce the power by 1, which gives you minus 2, and do not forget to differentiate the inside, which gives you 2. So then negative 5 when you differentiate, it's going to be 0. So you can just leave it at that. 2t plus 1, you can write it in this form. That's your acceleration. Acceleration at when t is equal to 4.5, that's straightforward. So when t equals 4.5, a is going to be negative 20 over 2 times 4.5 plus 1 squared. Negative 20, 9 plus 1 is 10 squared, which is going to give you negative 1 by 5. So 2 more questions left. Let's just finish it off. The expansion of this in this expression is written in descending orders powers of x. Okay, the descending powers of x. The first 3 terms are given. Find the values of a, b, and c. Okay, so basically you need to expand it before you can find. So basically this should give you a power 4 x power 4. You need to use the binomial theorem. So the concept here will be binomial theorem. So a to the power 4 x to the power 4 and plus 4 choose 1 a cubed, or you can just write ax cubed negative 2 plus 4 choose 2 in a ax squared negative 2 squared would give you 4. So you just need to write for the first 3 terms, since they only told you that gave you the information for the first 3 terms. And now for the second part, when you expand it, you will get 1 plus 3 choose 1. So 3 choose 1 b over x. So you can just leave the 1 as it is, plus 3 choose 2 b over x squared. So now you just need to expand all the terms. So 4 times negative 2 will give you negative 8 a cubed x cubed plus 4 choose 2 times 4 will give you 24 a squared x squared plus dot dot again that, and now 1 plus 3b over x plus the 3 choose 2 will also be 3, so 3b squared over x squared. Okay, then you need to just write b cubed over x cubed, so that's the last term. So now you need to find a, b, c. So you know that a is going to be this a power 4 x power 4 times 1. So for 81 should be, when you multiply these two, you will get that 81 x power 4. So when you multiply the coefficients, you need to get 81. So that's going to be a power 4 is going to be 81. So a is basically 3. So next is b. So b is going to be the coefficient of x cubed. No, sorry. Basically, you need to use these two for. You need to use the a is equal to 3 into the. You need to substitute a is equal to 3 for this. So now what you will get when you do that, 81 x power 4 minus 8 times 3 cubed, which is 27, minus 216 x cubed plus 24 times 3 squared, that should give you 216 x squared plus dot dot dot, and then this should be the same as it is 3b over x plus 3b squared over x squared plus b cubed over x cubed. So now you need to find the coefficient of x cubed. So the x cubed should give you, when you need to multiply these two, and you can multiply this and this. So when you multiply these two terms, all these 4 terms, then you will get the coefficient of x cubed. So the coefficient here, it's going to be 81 times 3b plus negative 216, which is going to give you 999 as per the information given here. So now you can find b directly. So 81 times 3b, 999 plus 216 should give you 1215. So then b gives you, divided by 81 divided by 3, which is going to be 5. Now c is the coefficient of x squared. So now again we will do the same method. Just make sure you don't leave any of the terms when you're cross multiplying or using the rainbow method. So the x squared is when you multiply this with this. So how do you get the x by 4 divided by x squared gives you x squared. X by x cubed divided by x gives you x squared. And 1 times this x squared gives you x squared. So that's your pairings. So now the coefficients only. So the coefficients would be 81 times 3b squared plus, or this should be minus 216 3b and plus 216. So now just substitute the b into the form into this formula. 3 times 5 squared minus 216 times 3, 15. So 3 times 5 gives you 15 and plus 216. So this I should believe that it should give you 3 times 25 75 minus 216 times 15 plus 216 should give you 3051. So therefore your A is going to be 3, B is going to be 5, and C is going to be 3051. So that's the pretty lengthy one for 10 marks. So it's worth for 10 marks. So basically you need to expand and then cross multiply, expand it based on the number of terms and the x squared or the whichever term you're going to find. And then the pairing should be correct over here. The pairings, you should not mistake in the pairings. Then you can just substitute it into the information given with the information given over here. Then you can just find all the three terms, three A, B, C. You can find the values of A, B, and C. Now the last question. Solve the equation caught this where y is in radians. So this is a little simple. Just make sure you don't miss this part. So that is the important. That's the domain of y. So don't miss the domain. So basically, this is 1 over tan y plus 1.5 equals to 3. So now tan y plus 1.5 is going to be the reciprocal over here. And the basic angle again, we need to find the basic angle because you have a range. So the basic angle should give you tan inverse of 1 by 3 will give you 18.4 degrees, which you can round it, you can write it in radians by doing pi by 180, multiplying it by pi by 180, you will get 0.321. So from there you just you need to know that in the 4 quadrant rule tan is positive in quadrant 3 and 1 and 3, sorry, 1 and 3. So I'll just write that here. Tan theta is positive in quadrant 1 and quadrant 3. So at 1, uh, so in quadrant 1, we need to just make it, you just find it with y plus 1.5. So that should give you the range, the domain then is the corrected domain will be 1.5 and then 7.5. So therefore, y plus 1.5 will be 0. Sorry, 1 second. I'll just correct this part. Okay, this should be y plus 1.5. So then you need to just find where at this point it should be pi plus 0.321. That should give you 3.46 to be one of the solutions. Y then will be 1.96. The other solution would be y is plus 1.5 is going to be the other next round 2 pi plus 0.321. That should give you 6 point. So I'll just write how I got this here. I'll just write it here. So basically in the third quadrant after pi, so after 180 degrees is going to be pi plus 0.321. And here what we are going to do is 2 pi, because after 2 pi 360 degrees you can go for another round, and in the second round you just add the 0.321 because in the first quadrant the tan is positive, so that should give you 6.604. Okay, that's a terminating one. and then you need to just minus it. You will get 5.10. So this is to 3SF, and this is also 3SF. I think that's it for today. Hope you understood uh, all the questions. And if you have any doubts, just post it in the comments below or through our WhatsApp group. And I'll see you soon in a new video uh, next week or after that. So bye bye. Thank you for joining.